which means I have 21 seconds before we can go live on LinkedIn. This is the pre-live. I believe we are already live on YouTube. So welcome, welcome, welcome for anyone who's joining us live. If you can see us, hear us, let me know. Let me know, and hashtag live if you're listening live, and hashtag repeat if you're listening on repeat, so we know when and how you're listening in, because sometimes with the comments we can't tell. Ooh, double feedback of the volume. There we go. Now we are live on both YouTube and LinkedIn. Welcome, everyone. I am here today. We're here today to talk about you and your leadership style. So we're talking about elevating your leadership presence, which is the second part of our LinkedIn Live series. So LinkedIn Live series, who are we? What are we doing? We're going to get to all of that. But first, comment and let us know, are you here? Can you hear us? Can you see us? And Michelle, can you see those comments? Just to make sure we're coming.
I'm watching the live feed. It's a little delayed, but we are live and up and running. We're about 20-second delay.
But okay, super. Thank you for that. Great. So as I said, this is part 2 in a 5-part series that Michelle and I are sharing with you throughout the month of October, talking all about leadership presence. And today our focus is about you and what is your leadership style. So some questions that we posted or that came up before are there some personality types that just can't be leaders? Good question. Or is it possible to be a successful leader without changing the core of who you are? Or do you just have to adopt all these new techniques and personalities and become something you're not? So we're going to talk about these questions and a lot of things connected to that: leadership skills and career advancement. But you may be wondering, who are we and why should you listen to us in the first place? So I'm here live with Michelle Alexandrowicz, the CEO and founder of Engage. She's a talent consultant, and on my screen, she's here, but I think on your screen, she's here. I don't know. Here. I better get that organized next time. So she's in one of these directions, and she's joining me today from Miami, Florida, USA. She's a talent consultant and leadership coach specializing in using people data to hire and keep the right candidates in the right positions for you, so that your people, your company, everyone, everything is engaged, or as the Austrians like to say, pulling on the same rope for your work and your purpose and your goal. So glad to have you here today, Michelle.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for having me. We've had such an interesting series of conversations. I'm excited to bring it to the LinkedIn world.
Yay! And who should be listening here with us today? This is kind of like, why is this for you? Because I said we're talking about leadership, but maybe you're not sure if you're in the right place or if this is the right topic for you today. And I just want to say it might, in fact, it probably is, because at some point on the path of career growth, the question of leadership does come up. If it hasn't come up for you already, it will come up. And being good at what you do, even really good at what you do, that does lead to promotions and bonuses and growth and flow, but only to a certain point. As you take on more responsibility, bigger projects, even managing teams, this means that new skills, processes, people skills, and leadership skills are required. They're required. So whether you're currently in a leadership position, a team leader, or a C-level executive, or you want to get there, this session is for you. But who am I and why should you listen to me? Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm the ECM of Talk with ECM. Those are my initials, Elizabeth Catherine Miller, and I'm joining you live today from Vienna, Austria. I'm a verbal branding expert, showing you exactly how to communicate with confidence, whether that's in English, because that's your main language of communication, or if English is a learned language for you. So, because I want you to speak confidently so that you can attract attention, wow audiences, and this is so important, kick imposter syndrome to the curb so that you can get to yes. Recently I've been called a ghost speaker, which is kind of like a ghost writer, but for speaking. So basically, I help you know exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. But enough about that. Let's do a quick overview of our topics for today and just checking the chats. Everything looking good. Right.
Everything looks good. I'm watching on my end too.
Excellent. Do we have anyone joining us live yet? Not yet. We'll be catching you for the replay. If you're here for the replay, #replay because you're important to us too. And we're glad you're here and we want to have this conversation with you. And in this event today, we're going to peel back the layers. So we started last week looking at my signature solution, start your conversation with success. And today we're going to focus on the base level of this process. And just for a visual, because I love visuals, let me pull that up so we can see a little tinker tanker here. And Michelle, give me some feedback here and let me know when you can see this. It's still loading on my side. Oh, that's a dramatic pause. All right. I see we have some listeners. I see we have 4 listeners here. Hi. So glad you're here to join us. Can you, drop a comment or say hello? Give us a like, a comment. Make sure you can see us and hear us. And I'm so curious, where are you listening in from? Where are you listening in from? We'll give you a little shout out because this is live. And that's one fun thing about being live. I'm having a bit of stickiness here with the share, but that's cool. We'll we are having some screen share problems on my side, but no problem. We'll just keep talking about this. As I said, we're going to be looking again at the signature solution, and we pulled that up last week, and I can see it now. Do you see it? Michelle gave me the thumbs up.
Yes.
Awesome. So we have, this is actually a master class. This is the blueprint for a master. Your conversation with success, 9 clear steps to clarify your words. Did it just disappear?
Mm-mm.
No, excellent. 9 clear steps to clarify your words, build relationships, and go from invisible to completely irresistible. And this can be for you, your brand, or your product. So it's the conversations that make a difference. And last week, just a quick brush over this, and we can, if you want more information, we can give you the link or answer the questions. Just drop. But the left side of the screen, I think you can see my mouse there, are the 3 levels. So it starts here and one winds up through the 9 steps. And we're looking today at this first level here. Can I highlight it a bit? That's an unattractive highlight. I should have put a box there. But it's that first level of you and your foundation, which I think it's cool. It's at the foundation of the blueprint. And the first 3 steps. And what I want to do today, what my goal is here, is to look at this together with Michelle. And from her perspective, with her experience working with executives, working with leaders, working out in the field, just how does she see this fitting into her industry? But let me check one
I'll
thing
jump
here.
in real quick, Elizabeth. I just want to state again, this is such a powerful model. This is such an important roadmap because with leadership, it's not tangible. It's not always a something you can check off your list or a specific task, right? So, Elizabeth, I love how you broke leadership presence down into all of these steps because this is the work we take our clients through. So, this series of unpacking each of these steps is going to be so crucial to developing the leader in you. So you provide good language, you provide good stopping points. And as we have these conversations, we're going to talk about there are actual tasks that you can do behind every single one of these. So we all need tools and roadmaps to kind of help us do the leadership work.
And help guide the way. I mean, it's so much better when we have someone who's been there, who's done that, just take our hand and show us the way. Yeah. Love that. So
show us the way, Elizabeth.
So what I would like to do is, again, just, what I would like to do is just read those 3 tiles we're going to focus on today. And I want to know from our listeners, those who are listening live as well as the replay, tell us which one you are most curious about. And as Michelle said, we're going to offer some tactics, some tools, some things you can do right now, today, this week, before, without having to get bogged down in theory, but just actual tangible things we can start doing to flex our leadership muscles. So the first one is rock solid foundation. And I'm just going to leave it as the words you see there. And just tell me which one you're most curious about. Magnetic attraction, mental detox. So drop us a comment and let us know. And as I noticed already, there is a bit of a delay here. So maybe we will check the comments again in 20 seconds. Keep an eye on that, and we'll just start digging in. Let's get started. And I'll pull back the thing, pull back rock solid foundation. So this is where we start, right? And that's why the basics, it's starting with you. This is what we have control over. This is where change really begins. And I think we talked about that last week. So the rock solid foundation here, I really encourage my clients to discover their own strengths. Every person has a unique story. Every person has their experiences, their skills, what they come to the table with. And in this process, going through this process, there are specific worksheets, books to help you uncover it through self-assessment and reflection. And by going through these processes, digging deeper and finding out, okay, what can I do? What do I have experience with? What do I have confidence with? Where are my wins? And then transferring that confidence and what value I bring to other areas. It's like setting your own confidence credo. So, Michelle, do you want to talk about that a bit before we get into tactics?
So the foundation, you said it like beautifully, like you need to know what your strengths are, but the other piece is you need to think about your own leadership stories. Every single person that's listening, everyone out there, you have stories, you have experiences, and those are really valuable moments in your leadership journey. And you need to take the time to think and reflect on them. And, the reason why your foundation is so important, and we do this work with our clients all the time, when things get difficult, where should you fall back to? Your strengths. When you're having a hard time at work or with a leadership issue, managing a team or a process, where do you fall back to? Your strength. What is the thing that you're really good at? So it's really important in developing and understanding your leadership style. What is the thing that comes naturally to you? Because when things get difficult, that's going to be the muscle that becomes the most easy to fall back on. So it's always important to understand, like, what is that strength? What is that easy piece or dynamic in my leadership style? Not just in success, but also when things get difficult. So that's one of the foundational
what is
principles
unshakable?
in positive psychology. Yeah, like not only what's not going well, everyone wants to say like, oh, I'm not good at this aspect of my leadership. Well, what is going well? It's always easy to identify what's not going well, but what are you good at? What is going well? What is smooth for you? And having the vision to look at that on a regular basis is so crucial to success.
Yeah, I love that. And documenting it. In fact, that's one of the things, one of the first tasks in the process is identifying your professional self. Where are those wins? Where are those strengths? And then documenting not only those and the skills, but also those pivotal experiences, because we have those turning points in our lives or those aha moments or those discoveries of when I realized the importance of speaking my truth, or speaking up and not being silent, or maybe de-escalating a situation. There's so many different things depending on your specific story. And it's wonderful to have these, even in a simple, rudimentary, basic way, like in a notebook or in a file somewhere, that, yes, I remember these happened, and these are my story. What?
I like that. Document. I hadn't thought about that before. We use assessments and tools all the time, which is a form of documentation, but that's an external tool identifying you, right? And those are really helpful. But I really appreciate that. How are you documenting your own journey, and what are the points that you want to remember and bring focus to?
Right. And in this process, because much of our focus is on conversation and presentation and speaking skills in general, it's important to have those stories, those pivotal moments, captured and prepared so that you can share them when it's important.
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, it sounds so simple, and yet it's a game changer, isn't it? When sitting down to write a speech or make a presentation.
It really is. And again, you hit the nail on the head. These are things that we kind of gloss over, and how many of us have taken a strength finder or a disc or these assessments. But you when times get tough, man, you need to know how you're wired and be able to lean into that and manage it accordingly. Right? Like me, I'm terrible with details. So guess what? When things are tough, I need to protect that aspect, right? And that's where my team comes in. That's where certain practices come in that I need to remind myself that I don't naturally do every day. So same thing, like, how do I lean into my strengths, but how do I create a context that also allows for my weaknesses to exist without it bringing me down, without it being my downfall?
I love that. It's so proactive. It's knowing that this is an area where I need support, not hating because of it, not
Right.
seeing it as a failure, but saying, hey, this is where I need support. Let me, like, preemptively, let me set this up before it's a drama
Mm-hmm.
with my team, and having the team clear communication to know, hey, this is what's going to be skimmed over. This is my weakness. Let's not let that bring us down. Yeah, I love that. And I think an excellent example of understanding and appreciation of foundations. And in my experience, and I've seen it time and time again, strong leadership starts with a solid personal foundation, knowing yourself. And I think that's where your work with assessments and these tools that kind of shine a light on things that we don't even think to look at sometimes really help to help us build that strong leadership core and find it within ourselves, so that we can go forward and navigate these leadership challenges with confidence. So I really like that. Can you share just maybe one or two assessments that you, or experiences you've had with assessments, that are insightful?
I regularly run leadership and team talent assessments. So the assessments that we use most are predictive index and DISC. So these are two different types of behavioral assessments on the market. And basically, these assessments help us identify what are our core drivers or our core needs. What is motivating to you? Because if I understand what my motivations are, then I'm able to predict what my needs are and what my behaviors will be. And this becomes very powerful in team dynamics, because when you start to build a team as a leader, your job is to build and manage a strong team that's moving towards the goal. You
It's
need
like
to
the pieces on a
understand.
chessboard, each with their own unique skills, strengths, and limitations.
That's exactly right. And
Mm.
you need to understand what dynamics will most likely come up. What kind of motivators do people have? So we do this work in leadership all the time, because when you have multiple leaders, each with an individual foundation, strength, or persona, that's where culture comes from. How you engage individually with your world when you start to collectively bring people together, those behaviors become themes and patterns, and that's what builds up your company culture. And culture makes or break everything. Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. And where does all of that start from? Your foundation as a leader. Yeah. How do you engage? You know, so that data feedback is just one way for us to reflect and say, oh, this assessment is saying this about me. Things like surveys and quizzes. We have a burnout survey. Sometimes just doing a burnout survey and saying, oh, shoot, I am way more disengaged than I thought I was. I thought I was okay. So these are data feedback tools that we need as leaders to help keep us in check and just kind of help bring us back down to reality and understand the impact that we're having on people around us, because that's what happens in leadership. You affect and impact the people around you. I heard someone say, if you're a leader, someone's talking about you at their dinner table. What do you want them to say about you when they come home from work? So that, again, goes back to what are your values? What are your core motivators, your core drivers? And we use tools and assessments all the time to bring that stuff to the surface to have a conversation about it.
And I like that. How do you want to show up at the table is something I say when coming to meetings or things. For example, if you're a leader, someone's talking about you at their dinner table. So how do you want to show up at their table when you're not there? Oh my goodness, right?
Yeah.
That's fun. That's a fun little image. I'm just checking the time. We're about 20 minutes in. So I want to press a little forward here, but this is so valuable. I feel like we need to have a whole hour about each tile, right? I do have, speaking of quizzes and assessments, I do have a quiz about your communication type. There are basically 4 different styles of communication in this quiz. It's a fun little quiz. I think it's like 8 questions, and you get the results in a fun way. If you're interested in that, please just send me a private message, drop a comment, just let me know you want to take the communication type quiz. I'll know exactly what you mean and send you the link. Good. Should we move on to the next one?
Yes.
Who wants to hear about magnetic attraction? Now, I've been going through and I've noticed we have about 5 people here not commenting, but you know what? Sometimes as we've spoken to people, that means they're driving. That means they're involved in other things. Maybe they're cleaning their house. Who knows? Be safe if you're driving and listen in. We love it. And, you know, you can always comment later after the fact or reach out to us personally. We're both available to continue these conversations. But if there's a problem hearing us or seeing us, do let us know that, please. So magnetic attraction. So here we're talking about how effective leadership really, it's connected to and hinges on communication and people skills. So we want to talk about how connecting with others and connecting and attracting people to you, not in aggressive, like chasing after kind of way, but just having this a magnetic pull. And I'm sure we've all seen these people where they walk into a room and everyone's head turns. Everyone notices them, kind of feels pulled to them, and just this natural magnetic attraction. And what is it about them? How do they do that? How can we get that for us, for our brand, for our products, for our services, whatever it is we want? And how you can connect with others in a way that matches your specific communication style. So that's with the quiz I gave you above, because not everyone's different. Not everyone can push the same buttons and pull the same levers to attract people. And what Michelle mentioned earlier, and I can only emphasize, is finding a way that aligns with your values, because that's really the key to success, isn't it?
It is. And, you know, the communication styles, it's true. We all have different communication styles. And part of the responsibility of a leader is to bend and incorporate those different types of communication styles. This is actually one of the most common phone calls we get from our clients when they say, you know, there's a breakdown in communication. And basically what is underneath of that is different styles of communication are clashing. So a real easy example is there are some people that need to process out loud. So if they hear something new, or if they're trying to understand something for the first time, they need a buddy and they need to like speak out loud as they're figuring it out, right? But
and
then
bounce
there's
ideas
some
off
other
of them.
people. Yes, they need to brainstorm and bounce ideas. But then there are other people that they're like, I don't want to say anything. I need to think. I need some time to process, get my feelings, get my thoughts together, think critically, and then I will come back to the table. Right. So how does that show up at the office? Well, sometimes you'll say, well, Susie's being quiet. She hasn't said anything all day. Susie's processing. She's thinking internally. She's not disengaged from the team. Whereas, Joe over here won't stop talking. It's two different communication styles, right? So a lot of the work we do with our teams is saying we use assessments, we use tools, we use surveys, and we say, where do the preferences lie? And then as a team, we talk about how that shows up in those different communication styles. And what starts to happen is that magnetic attraction starts to happen within the team. So now that attraction isn't just individually, right? But now it's a group team kind of building a synergy and that energy off of each other, because now they know, oh, Elizabeth needs to process out loud. Oh, Joe needs a few minutes before he's going to come to the table. And when you start to create room for people, that's what good leadership looks like, because then people want to engage.
I think you highlighted something really important here. It's the kind of gut assessment or expectations. What can I expect from Susie when she's engaged? What can I expect from Joe? What are their patterns? And not just thinking we're all the same, everyone acts like me.
Because we naturally think how we are wired, we often very just naturally assume that everyone else is like that. That's a very natural human thing. And part of leadership is stepping out of that and recognizing not everyone is wired like me, and I need to be intentional. Can I tell a really cool story about this, actually, real quick?
Yeah.
I had a client one. I'm so proud of him. This was such a cool example. He had a team of people that needed to think to themselves first, right? Like he was someone that was able to kind of process orally and like in the moment. So what he ended up doing with his team that he knew needed time to process internally, he held a leadership meeting completely on chat. No cameras, no speaking. As the leader, he presented whatever he needed to. And then for the rest of the meeting, they engaged in chat. And that gave his team the safety to not be on screen, to be able to process and think in their own safety and their own communication style, and be intentional around their thinking. So when you type something, it's very intentional versus just blurting it out.
And it slows things down.
It slows things down. So what a clever way for a leader to engage the communication style, right, of his team.
Absolutely. Wow. That's a great success story.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic success story. Yeah, actually some of the tasks involved in this section is talking a lot about charisma, body language, and how it aligns with your own personal style. And also one thing that I find really helpful is, two. One is figuring out, doing quick assessments to figure out the styles of those around you. Now, it sounds like you have tools and things, where you can, in teams, you can say, hey, take this, let's get on board, let's make a plan and find a strategy to work together. But sometimes in a job interview, some of my clients are doing that sort of situation where they can't ask the person to take the quiz first. So
actually, that's exactly what's happening. So part of the interviewing practices these days is companies are using behavioral assessments.
I mean, the person going to the interview can't ask the interviewer.
Do not know exactly. They're going.
That's what
blind.
I mean.
Yeah. It's
and
true.
That's blind. But yet there are questions we can ask. And this I want to share right now. Questions we can ask, not to get a definitive, clear assessment of someone, certainly not, but to get a feeling, to get a vibe. And one thing I ask before meetings, before talks, and sometimes even if I connect with you before a LinkedIn meeting, I'll say, what's one thing I can share with you today to make this a valuable use of your time? By asking this question, I'm asking, what do you value and what's important to you? I know those two things, I have an easier time meeting those expectations. and making you feel like, oh, that was worth my time, rather than what a waste, right? And there are also some nuances you can pay attention to if someone uses words like I think or I feel, and what they're valuing, the relationships or the details, the big picture, because we think in different ways and we value different pieces of information.
And it's such a powerful way to convey care. When a leader takes the time to say, Elizabeth, what's going to be the most powerful thing for you to get out of our meeting today? That shows care. And at the end of the day, that's one of the most powerful drivers of success. It is your leader just showing basic, genuine care about who you are and about whatever situation you're in.
Yeah, that's powerful. And opening the space for you to say what is important for you.
Exactly. Giving them the floor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Heartwarming. And feel seen and heard. Good. So should we press through? We are now at a half hour. Oh my goodness. Checking the chats. Have you checked the chats recently? I think we're consistently 4 people. I see you. Hello. I see you're there. Appreciate you listening in. And we have people who are not chatting. Fine. I get it. Maybe you're driving. Maybe you're washing your hair. Who knows what's happening? But we're glad you're here, and we hope we are offering value to you. In fact, maybe you can answer that question for me and Michelle, answer that question for both of us. What can we share in these sessions that would be valuable for you? What is one thing you'd like to hear or know more about? Good. We have the last section left, mindset detox. Are we diving into that, Michelle? Or are we saving it for another day?
I think we should at least touch on it, but it will definitely come up in future conversations because this is such a big one. This is so important. And it's on the foundational line, like you said. So this is a core thing that needs to happen in leadership.
Absolutely. You've already mentioned in our last session about different mindset shifts that just need to happen. They're essential to being a leader. Maybe you can talk about that for a second, if you remember. No.
Yeah, no, we talked about there's often a shift that needs to happen when we go from individual contributor into leader. The biggest mistake I see is that leaders do not make that mindset shift, and they just go into kind of managing their team the way that they would manage themselves individually. And this is a disaster for a lot of reasons. One, because of everything we just talked about in this session, which is people have different leadership or different communication styles, different approaches. So if you're coming at it from an individual contributor, you're going to run into issues because not everyone's wired like you, right? But the other big reason why this is a problem is because you're going to burn yourself out.
Yes.
Because it's hard to do one person's job, but if you're trying to do 5 people's jobs, that's where I see leadership burnout come in, because they're trying to manage everyone, like they're trying to do the work of everyone individually. And I think it comes from a good place of let's work on this together. But you need to do that leadership mindset shift and understand that now you are responsible for the team, right? Not just individually managing and getting involved in every task, right?
Yeah.
So in order to do that, you not only need the mindset shift, you also have to detox. So you talk about imposter syndrome, right? And we talk about like, what are the negative core voices that speak to us that are not helpful, right? A lot of us, when we're faced with something difficult, all of our insecurities come up, right? One of the most important, I heard someone say, if you're a leader, you should be in therapy. Why? Because you're going to face conflict as a leader. And what happens when we face conflict? All of our old stuff comes up. However you dealt with conflict in your life in the past, all of those patterns are going to come up again. And guess what? Most of us haven't worked through our baggage, how we deal with conflict, how we deal with difficulties. So that means leadership is a prime place where all your insecurities come up. And that's why it's important to do that detox work, to understand what are the messages in your mind and what do you really want to stand on in your foundation.
Yeah, that's one thing we talk about a lot. I talk about with my clients are these invisible scripts we carry. And it's interesting because we repeat them in our head. I actually met one person who doesn't hear. I mean, this sounds funny. One person who doesn't hear voices in her head, but what I mean is we hear things in our inner thoughts, but she actually sees them written out, which was a unique.
Oh, okay. So they're still there, but they manifest different.
Exactly. She sees these scripts. But anyway, so invisible scripts that we carry with us. So rather than we hear in our heads, but we carry them with us. And maybe they came from our childhood, maybe they came from our first job, our last boss, whatever it is, or even from ourselves and our own self-assessments. We carry these invisible scripts that may or may not be true.
They're usually not true.
They're usually not true. They're usually not true, but we carry them as if they're facts.
Yeah.
And then we don't look at them. We don't consider them. We don't even analyze them. We just take them as facts and put them on repeat like a broken record. And, it's these scripts that really hold us back. And so I work with my clients quite a lot with things I call like inner critic crushers. So kind of helping them to take a look at this, shine a light on it, and really examine, and many people find, and this I find interesting, and from personal experience as well, many people find it either comes from someone or some when in their lives. And being able to have that clarity and realize this is not every day. This is not who I am. This is not always. This is from a very specific time, place, person. And we can put that there.
Yeah, that work, Elizabeth, is so important and so crucial because it often roots down into worth, value. And then before we know it, we start saying things like, I'm not a good leader. I shouldn't be doing this work. That's detox work that needs to happen, right? We're believing in something that's just not true. So we need to do the work to rewrite those scripts, and we need to remind ourselves every day, right? And again, when stuff gets tough, what are your strengths, right? You've seen this evidence before. So that work is daily, and leadership is one of those contexts that poke at it more often and on the daily, which is why leadership work is hard. And that's why it should be tribal, community oriented. We're all going through these struggles together. We all have those invisible scripts that we're trying to rewrite and rework. And that work should be done in community with other people.
And I like the way you say we all have them, because having these invisible scripts is not a failure. It's not a sign that you're in the wrong position, that you're not a right fit for the task or the job or the position. It's a sign that, you're human. Welcome. And you've mentioned this in the last session, and I just want to applaud it and raise it up one more time. You said every single leader should have a board. And this is, maybe not officially organized by the company, but kind of your presidential cabinet, if you will, your people of supporters that you choose, that you select, that you call on in times of need, and also in times of nurture and celebration.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, having that group of core people. I have a board, but they don't all know they're on a board. They're just,
hey, what's the salary? What's the running rate?
The salary and the financial expectation? Exactly. But it's true. When things are difficult and when you want to celebrate too, there is a group of people and professionals, right? Like many of them are above me. They're more advanced in their careers. Some are peers, right? Even like your own team members, like we talked about, like a full 360. But have that team, have those people that you go to, because they're the ones that will challenge that script. And they'll be the ones to say things like, Elizabeth, that's not true what you're telling yourself. I know you think you're not good at this, but let me share some evidence with you that I've seen in the past. And these are the people that will help make you better leaders.
Yeah.
Right? It's iron sharpening iron.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I also want to share, because we touched a little bit about imposter syndrome, which is a topic that's dear to my heart, and these invisible scripts. And I've created a short quiz. I think it's, again, 10 questions. Do you have imposter syndrome? It has some cool graphics in it. And if you'd like to take that quiz, send me a private message or leave a comment below and I'll share the link with you. It's quiz imposter syndrome. So that's 2 quizzes. If you're a quiz loving kind of person, take them both. So the one is your communication style. The other one is imposter syndrome. And now we're in Vienna time, it's 2:39. I believe Miami time, 8:39. Is that right?
8:40. So we're starting the day. Hopefully you're at the office, or a lot of you are stepping into your first meetings. So hopefully this was a good conversation to get the day started. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous sunny day here. I hope it is where you are listening as well. And we're going to try and wrap this up now. I do know that some of you have been entire session, so I really appreciate you listening in and being here with us. And I'd like to open it up for takeaways or aha moments. And what I've noticed, and this is for people on replay, you can type it in, or if you're listening live and want to come back later and type it in, that's cool too. But it seems like it's kind of hard for you to message at the moment. We respect that. And let's share ours. Michelle, do you have any takeaways or aha moments you want to share, or maybe one last point you'd like to leave?
I think for me, the documentation comment you made around we need to document key parts. In a lot of our solutions, I will prompt our leaders with, tell me a significant leadership story in your life, right? And we use that as a sharing story, but I've never documented my journey. So I want to think about that now. How do I want to document my leadership experiences or these touch points? So I'm going to have to think about that.
That's brilliant. That's wonderful. And in fact, that's something I talk a lot about in the next session with your message, because many people, use this as a tool to create their brand story, their personal brand story, which is becoming more and more important these days, especially as people are shifting careers and shifting companies. You take your brand, your personal brand with you wherever you go. That's something that your employer can never own. So yeah, maybe we'll be unpacking that for you next week. Story makeover magic.
I think so.
But one thing for me that's an aha moment again and again is when you spoke about having a board that you can call on and nurturing that relationship, those people, and not just one person, not a buddy, not just my mom, but also having a board with different levels of experience, different areas of expertise, different resources that I will want to call on at different points in my life, and taking the time to intentionally set that up. I think that's a brilliant idea and I love it. I love it. So I want my maybe not an aha moment, but I want that kind of moment.
Yeah, it's part of our leadership foundation.
Great. Thank you for that. So yeah, I just want to wrap this up quickly for those of you who are listening live and listening on repeat. We're going to try and cut it at 45 minutes for sure. So that gives us 3 more minutes. And I want to give you an overview of what is to come in the next week. So Michelle and I have agreed and are planning to push our way through this entire series. So there's message and your tribe throughout the month of October. We'll be diving in, discussing in details, both with stories and real life examples and tactics that you can use, as well as some free giveaways like I gave today, the 2 quizzes. And we'll be pulling back the curtain and digging through this every Wednesday in the month of October. So if you want to know more, go ahead and mark your calendar, follow us, click the bell icon, like, comment, share with others that you think would find this information important. And we're eager to talk with you about leadership and conversation and community during this month. Just think of what this can do for your career all before Halloween. Yay! Catch it before the leaves fall. Well, I guess leaves fall in Miami?
Not really. But in the rest of the country, leaves are starting
My heart
to fall.
broke.
I know, we don't have autumn down here.
Yeah. I guess we were both spoiled being in the Philadelphia up northeast area. Gorgeous
yeah,
falls.
I do miss the autumn weather.
Yeah, Vienna has pretty nice autumn leaves. They tend to be a lot more yellow, however. So it's a golden fall, which is nice. Great.
Well,
So
I am excited for next week.
Yes, me too. So if there are questions or follow-up, please, reach out, let us know, leave a comment. We're here and we're ready to talk. So mark your calendar, save the dates, and join us here each Wednesday. We're like, as the Austrians like to say, a sure fix. We're your Stammtisch, where you like to come, where you come back. It's like cheers, where everybody knows your name. We're here for you every Wednesday. And think of it like the next step on your journey towards leadership success. Great. Thank you again, Michelle, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Ciao.